Chapter 10. The town, which stood at a height of almost 5,000 feet above sea level, was ideal for raising a young family, especially because the cooler climate kept at bay some of the health hazards of the hotter regions. Located in the tropics but enjoying a temperate climate because of its elevation, a wide range of both tropical and temperate fruit and vegetables were available to be bought at the local bazaar. This was usually on market day, which was held every 5 days, when people in the town and various tribes from the surrounding hills trooped into the marketplace at the center of the town and displayed their wares. Here, a fascinating array of folk, costumed in their brightly colored native attire, could be seen sitting on mats on the ground with heaped up piles of chili powder, turmeric, dried red chilies, onions, garlic, and a host of fruit and vegetables. Clothing and hardware were set up in small thatched roof stalls where the owners sat cross legged on crudely constructed bamboo platforms, and the aroma of spices merged with the caramelized scent of peanut brittle, oranges, tomatoes, cabbage, carrots, and greens, mohinga and tofu, suboyo and ngapi, all of which vied with the ever present scent of pine and flowers. Kalaw soon became a popular summer resort, vying with the less scenic Maemyo, drawing visitors especially during the dry season when temperatures in Rangoon rose to uncomfortable levels. British and other affluent families flocked to Kalaw because this was the period that coincided with the school holidays. Some of those who came decided to settle there and built beautiful homes on the hills, which they christened with names like Ridge House and Rock House. Emulating the colonizers came other ethnic minorities like the Shirazis from Iran, the Khans from Afghanistan, the Hussains with their Irani father and Shan mother. Others came from different parts of India, which was then not yet partitioned. Then there were the Anglos, like the Tranters, who were the children of an Englishman married to a Shan lady who had a problem pronouncing her son Robert's name, and as much as she tried at first to say it right, she eventually gave up and just called him Lope. I often wondered what bizarre reason caused these European men to isolate themselves from their own kind and live their entire adult lives in foreign lands. Was it for the idolization in which they were held by the native women? And what was the social psychology behind that adoration? Why was a lighter colored skin more appealing in so many cultures? Was it because of its rarity, like the special sacredness attributed to the white elephant? What was the root of that adulation, and why did the European himself feel superior to others? Was it a learned distinction? As children, we ourselves did not distinguish between the skin color of our friends, and it was only much later that these questions befuddled my mind. There were also the Durhams and Martins, all of whom were the progeny of intermarriages between mainly Englishmen and Indian or Burmese women. The Anglos, as they were known, took pride in their adoption of the English language and culture and generally considered themselves superior to the others. In physical appearance, they resembled a mixture of both the ethnic races from which they drew their genetic heritage and seemed to take on the more aesthetically pleasing qualities of each. We also had the family of Davids, who were South Indian converts to Christianity and who behaved like very well-bred, very dark-skinned Englishmen. In the missionary schools, Burmese was not considered a language worth teaching, so students who graduated from these schools were unable to communicate with the indigenous population unless they themselves happened to be ethnically Burmese. Not only were the students of the elitist schools ignorant of the language of the country, but they also had no knowledge of its culture, traditions, religion, or history. The gardener, the cook, the chauffeur, and the nanny were generally of Indian origin, so that there was a further separation, a superficial social layering, an unnamed but distinct apartheid. Small, close circles of intimate associates who shared the same values, language, and traditions, and who respected the British Raj lived their daily lives doing business, raising children, and socializing within their own group. There were certain rules that had to be followed, and as long as one abided by them, life went along smoothly. Irrespective of what the adults did and thought, children practiced a universal neutrality till they were compelled by a societal norm to differentiate between race and class. They played games just as children did elsewhere in the world and got up to mischievous pranks like the time my brother Arthur and sister Safia consumed an entire jar of candy and replaced the interior of the wrappers with closely matched stones, which they had carefully selected from a pile of gravel near the newly constructed driveway.